One day, everything changed without warning. The Earth was alive with noise. Cities were full of people. Machines were running. Satellites were circling above, and humans were looking at the stars like they always did. But then something strange happened. Every signal going out of Earth suddenly stopped. Satellites went silent. Space stations lost contact, and every message sent into space just disappeared. Scientists were confused. Governments were worried, but no one had answers. There was no explosion, no attack, no visible enemy. Only silence. A deep, heavy silence that felt wrong. People looked at the sky and felt something they could not explain. It was like the universe had turned its back on Earth. Hours passed, and the silence only grew stronger. Then something even more terrifying happened. Every screen on Earth turned black. Phones, computers, televisions all went dark at the same time. People tried to restart them, but nothing worked. And then slowly words appeared. Not typed, not sent, but placed there by something unknown. Earth is sealed, do not reach out. No one knew where the message came from. But it was not just on screens. People heard it inside their minds. Clear, cold, and real. Fear spread quickly. Governments tried to calm people, but they were also afraid. Scientists searched for answers, but found nothing. It was like the entire planet had been locked inside an invisible cage. No signal could go out. No signal could come in. The stars still shined above, but something felt different. People began to notice it slowly. One by one, stars started to disappear. Not all at once, but little by little. As if something was covering them. As if something did not want Earth to see beyond. Days passed, and panic grew. Some believed it was aliens. Some believed it was the end of the world. Some believed it was a test. But deep down, everyone felt the same thing. They were not alone, and they had never been. Far away in a quiet room, a scientist sat alone, staring at the sky through a glass window. He had spent his whole life studying space. But now for the first time, he felt afraid of it. He whispered to himself, "Why would they seal us? What were they afraid of?" Because it did not feel like humans were the threat. It felt like something else, something hidden, something waiting. That same night, people all over the world began to feel it. A strange pressure, not on their bodies, but in their minds. Some could not sleep. Some felt watched. Some heard faint sounds like whispers. No one could understand it, but it was growing. Deep under the earth, far below cities and oceans, far below anything humans had ever reached, something ancient moved. Slowly, quietly, as if waking from a long sleep. It had been there for a very long time. Long before humans. Long before history. Long before memory. And now, it was waking up. Not because it wanted to, but because something had changed. The seal above the planet was not just a prison. It was also a lock. And something inside had just felt it weaken. Back on the surface, people looked at the sky again. More stars were gone now. The darkness above felt heavier, closer, like it was pressing down on the planet. And in that moment, humanity began to understand one thing. The silence was not empty. It was watching. And what scared them the most was not the message, not the sealed sky, not even the disappearing stars. It was the feeling deep inside. Every human on Earth began to dream the same dream. It did not matter who they were. A child in a small village. A soldier on duty, a scientist in a lab. They all saw it. The same place, the same darkness, the same feeling. It started as silence. Then slowly a shape appeared. A vast black ocean stretching endlessly in every direction. The water did not move. There were no waves, no wind, just stillness. But beneath the surface, something was there. Something massive, something alive. People could not see it clearly, but they could feel it, watching, waiting, and then the feeling came. A deep, heavy pressure inside the mind, as if something was trying to speak without words. Many woke up in fear, their hearts racing, their bodies shaking. Some refused to sleep again, but it did not matter, because when they closed their eyes, the dream returned, stronger, closer. Children began drawing strange shapes, dark circles, long lines, symbols no one had ever taught them. Parents were confused. Teachers were afraid. Every drawing looked different, but somehow they all meant the same thing. Scientists collected the drawings. They studied them carefully. And slowly they realized something terrifying. All the symbols matched a pattern. A single message hidden inside them. Something is waking. News channels started reporting the same story again and again. People from different countries describing the exact same dream. The exact same ocean. The exact same presence. It was no longer possible to deny. This was not imagination. This was something real. Something connected. Something global. They called it the shared dream event. But the name did not matter, because what it meant was clear. Something had reached into every human mind and left a mark. In a research center deep underground, a group of scientists worked day and night. They scanned brain activity from thousands of people. The results were impossible. Every brain showed the same pattern, as if they were all connected to one source, as if they were all listening to the same signal. One scientist leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. This is not random. This is communication. Another scientist shook his head. No, this is something else. This is not talking. This is calling. The room fell silent, because they all understood what that meant. Something was not just sending a message. Something was trying to reach out. To humanity. To everyone. Days passed, and the dreams became stronger. People stayed longer inside them. They could feel the ocean more clearly. They could sense the movement beneath. It was closer now, closer than before. And then something new happened. Some people did not wake up. Their bodies were alive. Their hearts were beating, but their minds were gone, lost somewhere inside the dream. Doctors could not explain it. Machines showed activity, but no response, as if those people had crossed a line and never came back. Fear spread faster than ever. Streets grew quiet. People avoided sleep, but no one could escape it, because the dream was not just in sleep anymore. Some started seeing it while awake. Reflections in water, shadows on the ground, dark shapes at the edge of vision. Always watching, always waiting. In one hospital room, a man suddenly sat up after days of silence. His eyes were open, but they did not look human. His voice came out slow and heavy, as if something else was speaking through him. It hears you now. The doctors froze. They recorded every word. But before they could ask anything more, the man collapsed again. Unconscious. The message spread quickly. It hears you now. No one knew what it meant, but everyone felt the danger. Because if something could hear them, then it also knew where they were. Deep beneath the earth, far below stone and fire, the ancient presence moved again. This time stronger. Its awareness growing. Its senses reaching outward, toward the surface, toward the noise, toward the minds calling to it. It had been asleep for ages, but now it was no longer alone. Humanity had touched it. And what if Earth was never meant to be free? The question did not come from fear. It came from discovery. Deep inside a hidden facility far from any city, a small group of researchers uncovered something strange. It was not new data. It was not modern technology. It was old, very old, older than any recorded history. Buried beneath layers of forgotten files and sealed records, they found images, symbols, and writings that should not exist. The more they looked, the more one thing became clear. This had been hidden on purpose. One researcher slowly placed an ancient stone tablet on the table. It had been found years ago in a cave, but never fully studied. Now it was being looked at again, with new eyes. The surface of the stone was covered in carvings. A dark ocean, a massive shape beneath it, and small human figures standing above. One of the researchers whispered, "This is the same as the dream." Everyone in the room felt the same cold realization. This was not new. Humans had seen this before. Thousands of years ago, they searched deeper. Old cave paintings from different parts of the world. Africa, Asia, South America. All showing the same thing. The same ocean. The same presence. The same fear. How was it possible? How could ancient people draw something that modern humans were only now seeing in dreams? The answer was simple. They were not imagining it. They had experienced it. One of the team members opened another file. This one was different. It was not ancient. It was classified, modern, sealed by governments. Inside were reports from decades ago. Strange signals from deep underground. unexplained energy readings, sudden disappearances in remote areas, all connected to one thing, something beneath the earth, something alive, something that should not be disturbed. The room grew silent, because now the truth was starting to take shape. This was not a new event. This was a cycle, something that happened again and again. But each time it had been hidden, covered, buried, forgotten. Until now, another researcher pointed at a specific document, his voice low and tense. Look at this. The file described an incident from many years ago. A deep drilling project had gone further than ever before. And then suddenly all contact was lost. When rescue teams arrived, they found nothing. No machines, no workers, just an empty hole, and strange markings on the walls. Markings that matched the same symbols from the dreams. One sentence stood out in the report. Do not dig deeper. It is not sleeping. It is waiting. A heavy silence filled the room, because now everything started to connect. The dreams, the symbols, the disappearances. And then someone asked the question no one wanted to say out loud. What if the message was not for us? Everyone looked at each other, because they all knew what that meant. Earth is sealed. Do not reach out. Maybe it was not a warning to humans. Maybe it was a warning about humans, or something inside Earth. Another file was opened. This one was different. It contained data that did not come from Earth. It was a signal, received long ago, but never shared, translated slowly over years. The final message was short. Do not open the gate. Containment must remain. They sealed it, not to trap humanity, but to trap something else, something dangerous, something powerful, something ancient. The realization hit hard. Earth was not just a home. It was a prison, and humanity had been living inside it without knowing. But now things were changing. The dreams were stronger. The presence was closer. The seal was weakening, and humanity was starting to break the lock. Back on the surface, people continued to dream. But now the ocean was different. It was no longer still. The water was moving, slow waves forming, as if something beneath was rising, getting closer, reaching upward. And for the first time, some people saw it clearly. Not fully, but enough. A massive shape, beyond understanding, too large to be real. And when they saw it, they felt something worse than fear. They felt recognition, as if a part of them, some humans, decided to break the seal anyway. They were not heroes. They were not chosen. They were simply the ones who refused to be afraid. They called themselves the Breakers, a small group of scientists, engineers, and thinkers who believed one thing. Truth was more important than fear. They had seen the data. They had studied the dreams. They had read the hidden files, and they did not believe the warnings. One of them said it clearly. If something is locked away, then someone locked it for a reason. But what if that reason is a lie? Others agreed. They believed humanity was being controlled, not protected. They believed the message was not a warning, but a command, and they were ready to disobey. They worked in secret, far from cities, far from governments, deep underground in an abandoned research site. They gathered everything they needed: old technology, new machines, forbidden data. Their goal was simple: break the barrier around Earth, send a signal beyond the seal, and find out the truth. Weeks passed as they built the device, a strange machine made of metal wires and glowing energy. It was designed to push a signal through the invisible wall around the planet. No one knew if it would work. No one knew what would happen, but they were ready. The leader of the group stood in front of the machine, his face calm, but his eyes full of tension. This is the moment, he said. We either stay in fear forever, or we find out what is really out there. No one spoke, but everyone understood. They had already made their choice. The machine powered on. A low, deep hum filled the room. Lights flickered. Screens came alive. Energy began to build. And then suddenly, every screen in the facility went black. The same message appeared again. Earth is sealed. Do not proceed. This time it was different. The words felt heavier, stronger, like a direct warning. The room grew silent. Some of the team hesitated. One of them whispered, "Maybe we should stop. Maybe this is real." But the leader shook his head. If they wanted to protect us, they would tell us why. They would not hide the truth. He stepped forward and gave the command. Increase power. The machine responded. Energy levels rose rapidly. The hum grew louder. The air itself seemed to vibrate. And then something strange happened. The ground beneath them trembled. Not like an earthquake, but like something moving. Far below, one of the scientists looked at the readings, his voice shaking. This is not just the barrier. Something else is reacting. Another screen flashed. New words appeared. Last warning. Do not wake it. For a moment, everything stopped. The words hung in the air, heavy and final. Some of the team stepped back, fear finally reaching them. But the leader did not move. He looked at the message, then at the machine, and then he spoke slowly. Whatever it is already waking. The dreams prove that. We are not causing this. We're just uncovering it. No one argued, because deep down they knew he was right. The dreams were getting stronger. The presence was getting closer. This was already happening. The machine reached full power. Energy surged through the system. A bright flash filled the room. And then, something broke. Not the machine, not the ground. Something else. Something unseen. Far above the planet. A crack formed in the invisible barrier. It cannot be seen with eyes, but could be felt. A sudden pressure release. Like a door opening. For the first time since the message appeared. Something passed through. A signal. Weak but real. It escaped the seal. The breakers stared at the screens in shock. They had done it. They had broken through. But their victory lasted only seconds. Because at that exact moment, the sky reacted. All across the world, people looked up. Clouds twisted unnaturally. Light bent strangely. And then, a sound came. Not through ears, but through reality itself. A deep, overwhelming scream. The sky was not just opening. It was breaking. Back in the facility, alarms went off. Systems failed. Lights flickered wildly. The machine began. When it woke up, even time itself seemed to hesitate. For a brief moment, everything slowed. Cars stopped in the middle of roads. Waves froze at the edge of the shore. Birds hung motionless in the sky. People stood still not by choice, but because something greater had pressed against reality. It was not an attack. It was a presence. Something so vast that the world could not move freely under it. Then slowly motion returned. But nothing felt the same. The air was heavier. The ground felt unstable. And every human heart carried a deep, quiet fear. All across the planet, people looked up, because something was there, not clearly visible, not fully formed, but impossible to ignore. A shape in the sky, too large to understand, too strange to describe. It did not block the sun. It did not cast a shadow. Yet everyone knew it was there. They did not see it with their eyes. They felt it inside their minds, like a pressure, like a thought that was not their own. And then the feeling grew stronger. A deep vibration passed through the earth. Oceans began to rise without wind. Water pulled upward as if gravity had changed. Mountains trembled. Cracks formed across land. Cities fell into chaos. People ran, but did not know where to go, because there was no safe place. The thing in the sky was not above them. It was everywhere. In one city, a man tried to speak, but his voice did not come out. His body refused to respond. Around him, others stood frozen, their eyes wide, their minds overwhelmed. They were not being controlled. They were being observed, studied, measured, as if something ancient was looking at humanity for the first time and deciding. Deep underground, the breakers watched in horror, their screens filled with impossible data, energy levels beyond any known limit, signals coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. One of them whispered, "This is not a creature. This is something else, something bigger." The leader stared at the readings, his voice quiet. "We did not just wake it. We invited it." Silence followed, because no one could deny it anymore. This was their doing. They had broken the seal, and now whatever had been contained was free to reach out. But then something unexpected happened. In the middle of all the fear, in the middle of the chaos, a single child stood still. While others panicked, the child remained calm. His eyes focused on something no one else could see. People around him shouted, cried, ran, but he did not move. He simply looked upward and listened, because for him, the presence was not overwhelming. It was clear. It was speaking, not in words, not in sound, but in meaning, a direct connection. The child took a slow breath and then spoke, his voice calm and steady. "You are late." The words spread quickly, recorded by cameras, heard by those nearby, and repeated across the world. "You are late." People did not understand, but the reaction was immediate. The pressure in the air shifted. The presence paused, as if something had changed, as if something unexpected had happened. Back in the facility, the breakers looked at each other. Confusion filled their faces. One of them asked, "What does that mean?" No one answered, because something deeper was happening, something beyond their understanding. The child continued to stand still, his gaze fixed on the unseen shape, his expression unchanged, as if he was not afraid, as if he already knew what was happening. And in that moment, a new feeling spread across humanity. Not fear, not confusion, something else, something older, something buried deep inside. People began to feel strange flashes in their minds, images that did not belong to them, stars collapsing, worlds burning, beings far beyond human form. And in the center of it all, humans, not weak, not afraid, but powerful, far more powerful than they had ever known. The memories were not clear, but the feeling was strong. This had happened before, somewhere, sometime, long ago, and now it was happening again. The presence in the sky did not move, but it changed. Its attention shifted from the planet to the people, and for the first time, it was not just observing, it was reacting, because what it saw was not what it expected. Humanity was not just a species waking something ancient. Humanity itself was beginning to wake, and far beyond the sealed sky. Humanity was never weak, it was only asleep. The truth did not arrive as words. It came as feeling, a deep rising force inside every human mind. At first, it was confusing. Random flashes, strange images, echoes of something forgotten. But slowly the pieces began to connect. People across the world started to remember, not their own past, but a past far older, a time before Earth, before history, before the idea of being human. They saw stars not as distant lights, but as places they once knew. They saw worlds that no longer existed, burned and broken. They saw themselves, not as they were now, but as something greater, stronger, something feared. In one city, a woman fell to her knees as the memories hit her. Her hands shook, her eyes filled with light. She whispered softly, "We were there. We were everywhere." Others began to say the same. Different voices, same meaning. "We remember." The feeling spread like a wave. Not fear, not panic, something else. Awakening. Deep inside the human mind, something unlocked, something hidden long ago. Not by aliens, not by enemies, but by humans themselves. Long ago, humanity had reached a level of power that the universe could not contain. They had grown too strong, too fast. Their presence alone had begun to change reality. And so a choice was made. They sealed themselves, their memories, their power, their true nature, all locked away. Earth was not just a prison. It was a safe place, a place to sleep, to forget, to become small again. And the beings beyond the stars, they did not come to destroy humanity. They came to watch, to make sure the seal remained, because they remembered what humans once were, and they feared what humans could become again. The ancient presence beneath the earth. It was not a monster. It was a guardian, a final test, a living lock, placed there to hold the last barrier. And now, that barrier was breaking. Back on the surface, the child still stood still, his eyes calm, his mind clear. He looked at the unseen presence in the sky, and this time, he understood it fully. It was not here to destroy. It was here to see, to confirm, to decide. The child spoke again, his voice steady. "We remember now." The moment the words were spoken, everything changed. The pressure in the air vanished. The frozen fear disappeared. People could move freely again, but they were not the same. Their minds were open. Their awareness expanded. They could feel each other, sense each other, connected in a way never before possible. And the presence in the sky began to fade, not in defeat, not in fear, but in acceptance. It had seen enough. Far beyond the stars, signals began to return. Lights that had vanished slowly came back. One by one, the universe was no longer silent. But this time, the silence was different. It was careful, watchful, because now, everything had changed. Messages began to arrive. Not hidden, not blocked, clear and direct. They are awake. The words spread across distant systems, across beings that had been waiting, watching, hoping the day would never come. But it had. Humanity had awakened. Not fully, not yet, but enough. Enough to be noticed. Enough to be feared. Back on Earth, people stood together, looking at the sky. But this time, they were not afraid. They felt something new. Purpose, understanding, power. They were no longer just survivors on a small planet. They were something more, something ancient, something returning. And as the last trace of the presence faded from the sky, one final thought passed through every human mind, clear and undeniable. This time, there will be no